Alright, so before we get started today, I wanted to let you know about a giveaway I'm doing. So all you need to do to win these sleeve sheath over sleeves is you need to be subbed to the channel, you need to comment, and you need to like the video. Yeah, for today's video, we're gonna be doing the hand trap tier list. Now with these things, with tier lists overall going into the new format, of course we can't really know what's going to happen, but we can assume based on different factors like the decks that are going to perform well. So this is just my opinion, of course, but you are free to share yours in the comments down below. So yeah, make sure to share all your thoughts, like the video, of course ding the bell as well so you're always notified when I post. And yeah, with that we can go ahead and get started. Basically here we have the usual tiers: the goated, good, decent, specific, not worth it, and bruh. So the hand traps are also standard, the ones we featured in the last tier list already. So the first one is going to be Bestios, and in my opinion, Bestios are going to be quite good. I want to put them in good. We'll see if we stack some things on top, but like Bestios are going to be very, very impactful for matchups like Branded, like Dragon, anything that's based on light and dark attributes. If people try to play around with these decks, Bestios are going to come in handy. They're going to be nice against the Evo Twin side of things in the Sprite deck, and against Methmech if it sees some resurgence, maybe against Joytron and just random things that are based on light and dark attributes. So yeah, I think Bestios are going to be really, really strong as hand traps, and of course they're going to be played as part of the engine in Branded and Dragons. So we're gonna see them a lot, I think, and at least in the side deck, you probably should be ready with Bestios. Moving on to Ash. I put Ash in, I think, decent on the last tier list, but I want to put it in good. I think Ash is going to be really strong because, especially at the beginning of the format, Ash is probably the way to go, just because it's the most generic. And it's also going to be very strong against Branded and against Labyrinth, and both of them are going to be strong decks. So yeah, I like the fact that Ash, like I said, is generic, so it has a ton of uses across the board. If you play it against Sprite, maybe you can like still do some stuff, and I guess some other decks as well. So it's always going to be useful, I think, and that was a very weird way of saying useful. I don't know if you heard it, it sounded weird to me. So it's going to be useful. And moving on to Bell, I think Bell is going to be impactful as well against Branded and against Labyrinth, just like Ash, and overall it's just nice against Bestios, it's nice against called by just random stuff, but mostly against Labyrinth and also Branded. So I think I'll put it in good. I genuinely think that the card is not bad. There might be some other ones that have a bit more impact, and maybe you won't have as much space if you decide to put board breakers in your deck as well, but like I think Bell is still going to be nice. And I'm always sort of like indecisive when it comes to the C cards, like Contact C, Retaliating C, but I feel like I think Contact C is not worth it because Brandon is able to play around it, and against Kashira it just doesn't have in my opinion it's not enough. And you're gonna be citing a lot of different cards. Of course, you're not gonna be maining Contact C, so at that point it just feels like it's not worth it. Whereas Retaliating C, I think it's gonna be quite nice actually. Runic is going to be everywhere. It's going to be really, really strong, and Retaliating C is really nice against Runic. And against Purdy, as much as Purdy is probably not going to exactly be making waves in this meta, until Duelist Nexus, of course, I still think Retaliating C isn't bad. I'll decide if I want to leave it in good or put it in specific, but I don't think it's a bad choice actually. Then we have Chaos Hunter. Not worth it in my opinion. Doesn't really do enough. Actually no, I'll put it in specific because Sprite is going to be much more represented, and Chaos Hunter to be able to play under Shifter together with Mannequin Cat, Chaos Hunter is a really, really nice addition to the deck. So if you decide to do that, I completely understand, but overall as a hand trap, I don't feel like it's worth it. But still, you know, the specific category is probably the correct one for it. Then we have DD Crow. I think DD Crow is almost always going to be worse than Bestios, just because Bestios are a body and they do so much, you know, Magnamud going into another Bestio for more disruption, it's just better. But DD Crow is not bad. It's able to get rid of some very important things. So I guess I'll put it in specific, like top. Actually, I'll put it in decent. I'll put it in decent. I won't be rude to DD Crow. And also it's very budget friendly. So like if you want to play DD Crow and maybe Ghost Bow and not invest into Bestios because they went up in price, I completely understand you. So I'll leave it in decent. It isn't bad, but it's just not the go-to hand trap, at least in my opinion. Then we have Shifter, and I'll put Shifter in specific. It's going to be weird because Kashtira and Sprite is going to be really strong. Flunder isn't going to be bad, but all of these decks can play Shifter. So Shifter won't be as good because if you're encountering matchups where your opponent doesn't get hurt by Shifter, Shifter isn't going to be as strong. So you might want to side it in decks that can play it. But I don't think as a whole, Shifter should go in any other category than specific because of the reasons I listed. So it's going to be good, it's going to be strong, but it is specific because the top decks can also run it. And it isn't bad against even like branded, like it can play under Shifter, but the plays just get very weird and just awkward overall. So yeah, I think it's going to have some impact. And now we have Droll. I still think Droll is going to be strong. I'll put it like here, probably. Maybe below Ash. I don't think it's going to be a card worth main decking just because overall the ratios are going to change between board breakers and hand traps. I might be wrong, but I feel like you probably should be citing it because there's going to be so many matchups in which Droll is going to be useful. There is literally probably not a single, maybe against Labyrinth it's not as great, and like against branded you're able to prevent some stuff but not everything. It doesn't have as much impact, but against every other deck I can't think of one that doesn't lose to Droll, at least in some capacity. Overall, I just think that Droll is going to be very strong still, especially in a meta where so many different decks can see play and all of them lose to Droll in some kind of way. So people say that Droll is going to like go down in popularity, but I disagree, because if it does, a lot of decks are going to be on the rise again, and you know, you kind of want to prevent that. You don't want random decks like Dark Crowd and stuff like that like running around if you can play Droll and use it against many different decks. So yeah, I guess that's it when it comes to Droll. Then we have Gamma. This one is weird. I'll put it in specific. Like, Gamma isn't... I don't want to say it's necessarily horrible. I don't want to put it in bruh, although I was considering it. But I think if you're able to play Gamma together with your engine for whatever reason, it could maybe still see play, but I wouldn't play a 1-of and then 1 brick. I cannot see myself doing this, but being able to resolve Gamma in your turn is insanely useful. If you go for Axo Synchron into Baron, it's just, there's no comparison. It's really, really strong, and if you want to risk it, so you can do stuff like that, sure. That's why I want to put it in specific. Some decks can still play it, but I personally probably wouldn't, so, you know. Then we have, you know, the time card. I don't know, I'll just put it in bruh. I keep putting it in these tier lists and putting it in bruh, but like, it's 45 minutes. If you cannot win in 45 minutes, then there's an issue. Like, an extra 5 minutes, at least I think, is quite a lot. So, I don't know, I might be wrong. People might still play side cards that, you know, are for time, which I agree with if it's your engine. Like, I get that people play Red Resonator or you go for Masquerade if you're close to time or stuff like that, but I wouldn't personally run time cards like this one. Then we have Impermanence. It's going to be strong. I don't want to put anything in Goated just because the format definitely isn't solved yet, and I think cards like these, I'll put Impermanence above Ash actually. It's the most versatile. It's really, really strong just all around, and it's just, it does a lot. You know, if you go up against Sprite, you kind of have to use it on Gigantic and then like hope you have additional stuff to deal with the board. It's not bad against Branded as well. You kind of have to use it so they don't get too lost. It's good as a 6th card. It's going to be quite nice against Kashtira, being able to stop this on like a unicorn. They might just pass, you never know. And just there's a lot of things where Impermanence is very useful against, and I will put it in good, especially like I said at the beginning of the format, where you want to have a lot of generic stuff at your disposal. Also, Impermanence can be set with Trust, so Trust might still see play in some decks. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Lancia is probably not worth it. I'll put it like here. It's not bad against Kashtira, but it's not incredible. So like I really don't see anyone playing this right now, and I don't think we will see people play this in the future. And then we have Skullmeister. The same thing goes for it. I don't think there's anything activating in the graveyard. I might be wrong, but I can't tell if there is like specific stuff activating there. Literally, the only thing I can think of is like you go for opening and then you pitch a Tragedy and you go like Chainlink 1, Aluber, Chainlink 2, Tragedy. But that's like the only thing. There might be more. I just don't think this card is worth it. Then we have Moonlit Chill. I think this card is decent. I'll put it above Didi Crow. I think both Moonlit and the Veiler aren't bad, but like I said, and I keep repeating myself, I think the slots are going to be dedicated to more board breakers, and at that point, cards like Veiler and Mourner are going to fall off just because some other ones are going to be better. So if you dedicate a play set to Ash, to Impermanence, to Nibiru, some Vicios, maybe a Droll, you kind of run out of space. And yeah, also Mourner is very weird because it works differently here in the TCG. As opposed to the OCG, if it's during your turn and people summon something, you're always gonna be Chainlink 1, so it kind of sucks, actually, if you're the turn player. If you're using it during the opponent's turn, it isn't bad. The burn effect also can play some part, I guess. But yeah, Veiler just kind of wasn't that great because for the most part, people were trying to play around draw and using their effects in the draw phase, so Veiler, of course, isn't going to be useful. And I think, at least if I'm judging by my thoughts and my predictions, if draw is still good and people still do stuff in the draw phase, Veiler is going to be even less important. So yeah, I think this is fine. Then we have Nibiru. I think I'll place Nibiru here. Let's think. So Kashtira can play around it, most definitely. Branded can play into it, but it doesn't have that much impact against Branded a lot of times, I think, because they can still set up stuff in the end phase, probably. It isn't bad. It's kind of mediocre, right? And then you have Sprite, which of course can just turn it off. However, if you pair Nibiru with Impermanence, it's going to be much better. I'll put it like at the top of specific. I think the card is strong, but you really need to decide, you know, if you want to play it or not, depending on your meta. So you're going to be the one to tell. And I think that's why I should go in specific, because some decks hard lose to Nibiru if you side it. I think this isn't a bad choice because there's a lot of diversity here still. But there's also a lot of Runic, a lot of Sprite, Labyrinth, some other trap decks that don't really lose to Nibiru. So yeah, top of specific, I think. Then we have Ogre. Now this one I think is still going to be strong against Sprite, naturally, using Ogre on Gigantic. That was like the first thing we learned. And also just overall, I think Ogre is right now one of these cards that you can actually find uses for it in different matchups. They might be a bit more specific, but still, you know, using it on field spells, which right now you have Runic Fountain, you have the Rika field spell, you have stuff in Dragon Link even. There is, let's think, Kashtira. I guess, you know, Ogre isn't the worst one. You will probably side it out, but still, if you have it, you probably have it in the side anyway. So, like, it's not bad against Sprite. Against Branded, like, Ogre on an Albus really hurts or something like that. Against Evo Twin, you know, if you Ogre the Evo Twin, it's going to be very nice removing the body. That's why Gamma on the Evo Twins were always, the Live Twins, sorry, when you normal summon or special summon them or whatever. That's why Gamma was also very useful. So I think Ogre is still going to see play, but we might move it to the side deck. Yeah, then we have Phantasme. I don't know, I still think it's not worth it. Like, Phantasme is so cool. I really, really like the card. I love the design. I love how useful it was. Back in the Agar Pain LP days, we all remember that. But right now, I guess it just really isn't the time for it. And from what I've been seeing in the last couple of tier lists I did, these sort of categories down here are always the same. They're just, you know, they're not really changing a lot, and we might see a meta with a lot of links, but I feel like the time has passed. Right now we're moving to fusion, synchro eras, and Phantasme isn't going to be exactly the strongest card. Yeah. Cherries is going to be the last card on this list. Let's decide. I feel like it isn't worth it. And if I remember correctly, in the last tier list, I placed it in specific because I was talking about how against Purdy it isn't bad if you choose the correct target. And overall, I still think that, I might still move it to specific because, like, if you have enough space, I'll put it here. I'll put it at the bottom of specific. If you have enough space, if you play that type of deck, if you have like literally 15 spots just free for use in the extra deck, sure. But I don't personally think it's going to be that useful to the point where we would like have to massively side it or even main it. That's just, it's not really a thing I predict. So going over this tier list once more, I feel like it isn't bad. I genuinely think it's okay. Now, I might be wrong. If there's anything I missed, if there's anything that you agree or disagree with, please let me know. I really enjoy doing these tier lists and being able to talk to you guys. And of course, don't forget to comment, like, and sub for a chance to win these sleeves. I'll just leave it open for a couple days and then I'll choose a winner. And yeah, that's pretty much going to be it. If you like the video overall, of course, please make sure to like it, share all your thoughts, check out Sleeve Chief, check out the cards on Card Market if you want to get any hand traps for the next format. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.